So the next thing we're looking at is applying circumference in lesson 4, and we're going to be going through those practice problems. So the first thing we have is a picture of a Ferris wheel. Okay, it has a diameter of 80 meters, and they're asking us to, on the picture itself, draw and label a diameter. Okay, well, hopefully you have already gotten yourself a ruler before you did this, because we really want to be very clear, and whenever we draw things in, they should be straight exactly as they're expected and supposed to be. So first thing I have here is my diameter. Sorry, I'm trying to get set up here with my pen. Okay, so this is my version of a ruler. Hopefully it shows up like it's supposed to. There it is. So that's my diameter. It goes right across and through the center as close as it could be for me. And then I need to label it. So I'm going to label D, and I'm going to tell you that it equals 80 meters. How far does a rider travel in one complete rotation around the Ferris wheel? Rotation around it, so I know that, of course, that's the circumference, which should have been obvious anyway, because that's what this entire section has been about. So I know in order to find the circumference, that's equal to pi d, or pi times d. So in this particular case, I know that d is equal to 80. Now, you notice I don't put the meters or any other type of measurement label here, because I'm now doing the mathematical computations, and I would add that on at the end. So using my formula and what I know, I'm going to know that C is equal to 80 times pi. Now when I write it in like this, it means that I'm planning on using the pi button on my calculator. So when I look at that, I see that C is equal to 251.3274. So 3274, I think I'm going to round this to the hundredths place right here, which means I look at the 7. The 7 is greater than 5, so I know that I need to therefore round up. So C is, well, actually, let me show you that in this particular case, whenever we round, we don't actually use the equal sign. We use the approximation sign, which is like an equal sign, but like with squiggly lines. So C is approximately 251.33 meters. That is my answer. Okay, next, identify each measurement as the diameter, radius, or circumference of the circular object, then estimate the other two measurements for the circle. Okay, well, that is easy enough to do. So if I have the length of the minute hand on a clock is 5 inches. So the minute hand, I know that that would be the radius. And then it does tell me to estimate. So I do not need to use my calculator or choose the approximation, because when I estimate, I'm always going to be using the approximation of pi being about 3. So this is what I'm using for all of these. So the length of the minute hand on a clock is 5 inches. I know that I have the radius, so therefore the diameter is going to be twice that. So the diameter is 2 times 5. Sorry about the awkward pause there, if it did come in that way. I had to pause it and fix it, so that is no matter to you. So anyway, D is equal to 2 times 5, which is 10. And I know the circumference is 3 times, or about 3 times the diameter, which is 10. So that's 3 times 10. So therefore the circumference is going to be about 30. Okay, the distance across a sink drain is 3.8 centimeters. So across the entire thing, that of course is going to be the diameter. Now that I have the diameter, I can approximate my radius. Radius, of course, is half the diameter. So 3.8, I'm actually going to round that to 4 divided by 2. So it's going to be about 2 centimeters. Oh, look at that. I made that mistake that I told you to make sure you didn't make, that I didn't label these. So this would be about 10 inches, and this is about 30 inches for the first one. I did in my second one include the 2 centimeters. Okay, and the last one I need is the circumference. I know it's always pi times d. They told me it's 3.8, but again, I'm going to round that to 4. So I'd have 3 times 4, so the answer is 12 centimeters. Whoops, that is silly looking. There we go, 12 centimeters. Next, the tires on a mining truck are 14 feet tall. Okay, so that tall means probably from the ground to the top of it. So I'm again going to say that this is the diameter. And since I'm now approximating, again, for the other two, I've given the diameter, so the radius is going to be half of that, or 14 divided by 2, which is 7. The circumference, I know, is diameter times pi. In this case, the diameter is 14, and I'm using my approximation of 3. So 14 times 3, well, 10 times 3 is 30, 4 times 3 is 2, so that's about 42 feet. And over here I should have had feet as well. Next, the fence around a circular pool is 75 feet long. I know, of course, that that's the circumference, right? Because it's around the outside. If I have the circumference, well, this is slightly different than what I had before. I know that I'm going in reverse, so I know that the diameter is going to be the circumference, which in this case is 75, divided by my approximation of 3 for pi. 75 divided by 3, I like to think about that as money, even though I know it is not. So it's going to be 25 feet. And now that I have the diameter, I can find the radius by finding half of that. So that is 25 divided by 3 is going to be about, well, I know 3 goes into 25, 8 times. So I'm going to say it's about 8. Again, that is feet. Next, the distance from the tip of a slice of pizza to the crust is 7 inches. So the tip, of course, they're talking about the center point of that circular pizza. To the edge is going to be my radius. And I know once I have the radius, I can find the diameter by doubling that. So 2 times 7 is 14 inches. I find the circumference by multiplying the diameter times pi. So the diameter is 14 times my approximation of 3. So 14 times 3, just like the last time, is still 42 inches. Next, I'm going to break a cookie in half to create a straight side 10 centimeters long. Wow, I'm very talented if I can cut my cookie in half, or break my cookie in half and have that to be a straight line. Perhaps if the cookie is soft enough, I could use a knife to cut it, but that is not what they said here. Anyway, straight across the whole thing, that is my diameter. I know if I have the diameter, I can, of course, find my radius, because that's half of that. So 10 divided by 2 is 5 centimeters. If I'm going to find the circumference, that's pi times d. They told me d is 10, so it would be 10 times 3, which is about 30 centimeters. The length of the metal rim around a glass lens is 190 millimeters. Okay, so around, again, that is the circumference. They give me the circumference, I can find the diameter, because that would be the 190 divided by pi, which would be 3. So 190, well, 3 goes into 19, 6 times, right? And 3 goes in 18 6 times, so that gives me 10 left over. So 10 left over, so it goes into 10 3 times. So I would say that that's about 63 or so millimeters. And once I have the diameter, I can find half of that to be the radius. So 63 divided by 2, well, half of 60 is 30, half of 2 is 1.5. I'll actually put the 31.5 in this case, and that is in millimeters. And my last one here, from the center to the edge of a DVD, well, it gave me those two magic words there. Center to edge is 60 millimeters. So the center to the edge, that of course is the radius. If I have the radius, I can very easily find the diameter, which is 2 times that. So 2 times 60 is 120 millimeters. And now that I have the diameter, I can very easily find the circumference, because that would be the diameter, which in this case is 120 times 3. So 12 times 3 is 36, so this would be 360 millimeters, about. Next, a half circle is joined to an equilateral triangle with side lengths of 12. What is the perimeter of the resulting shape? Okay, so first I'm going to label this as 12, 12, 12. And the perimeter, that of course means that I'm looking for, if I was going to be able to walk around this, what is that distance to get back to where I started? Okay, so I do know that if I'm looking at this outside piece here, that would be the circumference of an entire circle, but in this case it's a semicircle. So So I would divide that in half once I find it. So I am going to start by finding the circumference of that entire circle. So the circumference would equal, well, I know I'm using the diameter, which is right here. So that would be 12 times pi, which in this case I'm going to use 3.14. And I am going to throw that into my calculator. And I am going to get that C is equal to 37.68. However, I don't need the entire circle because remember this is a semicircle or a half circle. So that means I only need half of that. So I would take my circumference divided by 2. So 37.68 divided by 2 gives me 18.84. Now I know I'm not done because I've only found the distance around the circular or half circular part of the shape. And I still have these two lines that I can't forget about. So I'm going to have 18.84 plus 2 times 12. So remember, if you are confused that I did put that in parentheses, it does mean to multiply. So the first thing that I would do is the multiplication. So to have 18.84 plus 24. So 18.84 plus 24 is going to give me 42.84. It says units, so I'm just going to write units in this particular case because it doesn't give me a specific measurement. Circle A is a diameter of 1 foot. Circle B is a circumference of 1 meter. Which circle is bigger? Interesting. So I'm going to start with circle A. It's a diameter of 1 foot. I am going to change that to inches because it does give me the comparison of the two. 1 foot is going to be equal to 12 inches. Okay, so it tells me 1 foot, I can make that into 12 inches. And then I think I'm going to change that into centimeters. So my inches, 12 times what they gave me, 2.54. I multiply those together, I get a diameter of 12 times 2.54 is going to give me 30.48. So remember, this was in inches, and now I have it in centimeters, right? So to find the circumference, that's going to equal my 30.48 times 3.14. So if I multiply those two numbers together, I'm going to get this wonderful number of 95.7072. So, sorry, I was just looking at what's next. So I now have the circumference. In this particular case, it's 95.7022. So now I need to look at circle B. Circle B has a circumference. They already gave me the circumference of 1 meter. Well, meters and centimeters. Oh, I forgot to label that. Sorry. When I compared those, well, first I have to make this into centimeters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. And now I have to compare my 95.7072 to 100. Well, obviously I know that the 100 is certainly greater, so that means that circle B is bigger. The circumference of Tyler's bike tire is 72 inches. What is the diameter of the tire? Oh, well, this is easy peasy. I've been doing this, right? So if the circumference equals 72, and I'm looking for the diameter, I would do 72 divided by pi. I am going to use the pi button on my calculator, so that's going to give me 22.9183. I would probably at this point just round that to either the tenths or the hundredths place. And I think it's because it's 9.1, I'm just going to say that the diameter is equal to 22.9 inches.